Hey, what's up, everybody? And thank you for listening to Operation Agency Freedom, where we are bringing you top secret advice from the world's most badass digital agency owners. These amazing men and women are sharing their stories of how they have built 6, 7, and 8-figure digital agencies and how you can too. My name is Chris Martinez, CEO of Dude, where we help digital agencies by giving them the people and the processes so that they can take on more website and funnel projects and scale profitably. Today, I am joined by Mike Rhodes, CEO and founder of websavvy.com.au. He's joining us all the way from Melbourne. As if I say that, I'm trying. That's my best Australian accent.
Melbourne. Yeah.
Melbourne. Like the way that it's pronounced or that it's spelled is everybody always says Melbourne. Correct. But I know that you guys say it a little bit differently, so I'm trying to do it justice.
Nice.
But thanks for joining us on the show, Mike.
Mate, absolute pleasure for being here. Thank you for inviting me on.
How are things down in Australia? Because obviously we've been following the fires and everything down there for the past month.
It's terrible. It's going to take many people months and months to recover. It'll take some years to recover. They're still going on. It was 110 here yesterday. Got down to about 80 last night, which is why I'm sweating, even though it's 6 o'clock in the morning here, because the aircon hasn't kicked into the office yet.
Wow.
And we're up to about 110 again today. So yeah, it's pretty horrible. Canberra is the one under threat today, but there's I don't know, probably 100 fires still burning. It's pretty bad.
I don't know if this is a global thing, but the American media and I think just Americans in general have a very short attention span, and so it was all over the news for like a week. And then we haven't heard anything about it here for 2 weeks. So we're
kind of similar here, actually. It's gone off the news more, but there's whole communities still isolated, people without power. It's very much still going on, but yeah, we all get fatigued from the news, right? So
yeah,
move on to a new cycle and just do
we wish you all the best.
Thanks, dude. We're not affected really, but
okay. Well, we're pulling for all the Australians.
Thank you.
So on to other things. We always have our roundtable discussion. Well, we're going to switch gears to something a little bit lighter. So, we were doing our research on you. Well, not me personally. Liz was doing her research on you. She's very good at stalking people on the internet. She's shaking her head at me right now. But we found out that you are an avid mountain biker. It's something that I've never done before. It does look super fun. So, how did you get into mountain biking?
Well, I moved from the UK to New Zealand about 20 years ago, supposedly for 3 months, ended up staying for 3 years before I moved to Australia. And I moved to a place called Queenstown, which is right down the bottom of the bottom island in New Zealand, ski town in winter, but massive mountain bike place in summer. Got in with the right group of lads and basically rode for 3 years up and down mountains. It is the most fun you can have. I love mountain biking, and now I get to travel and speak a bit, going to conferences. So I always try and get a bit of riding in wherever I go. There's just some amazing places. You're in a great part of the world down there. The mountains in behind San Diego. There's some riding in there.
Have you been there before?
Once. When I come back for TNC this year, I'm going to get some more riding in. But I head straight up to Utah, so I get some riding in up there. We were in Whistler last year. That was amazing. But even in Australia, there's some cracking riding here. So yeah, I love my mountain bike. I'm actually shopping for a new bike at the moment. Don't tell my wife. But I love my bike. Every time I get on it, I smile. That's my car. I treat myself with my bike. I'm not too precious about really anything. As you can tell, sitting here in a t-shirt and cargo shorts, that's my standard uniform.
Yeah.
I drive a 10-year-old car. My bike is that's my toy. I love it. Got to try it, right?
Now, do you think, is it like a form of creative expression for you? Is it a stress release? Have you ever looked at why, you connect so much to the bike?
That's an interesting question. So years ago, I started reading Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now. Mm-hmm. And I got about 3 pages in and he was talking about being present. And I realized that's what I'm doing when I'm mountain biking through the forest, not maybe to and from work, but when you're on a trail, you're looking at the piece of dirt 10 feet in front of the front tire and you are totally there and everything else drops away. And I went, oh my God, that's why I love mountain biking so much, is because you forget everything else. You're totally present, put the book down, got what I needed out of that one. Thank you very much, Eckhart. So
Wow.
that's a big part of it. It's I guess it's a moving meditation in a way.
Yeah. No, that's great. So when you go, do you usually like go by yourself or do you go with friends or is kind of a mixture of both?
Bit of both, bit of both. Yeah, Mondays are thinking days for me.
Mhm.
So I try and get into the forest every Monday. It's just thinking day happens to be on a mountain bike.
Right.
But yeah, when I'm traveling or going to a conference, there's usually being digital marketing. There's usually a few people that are into their mountain biking. So
Right.
yeah, I caught up with a few guys in Park City, Utah, at the end of a conference last year, and we just had a blast riding up and down hills all day.
Wow. That's great.
You're chatting in between rides, you're blasting downhill, then to the big uphill, you're chatting away and talking about life. And we had some pretty interesting conversations, actually. That's a pretty special group of guys.
You know, that's one of the things that I enjoy most about our industry. You know, if you categorize digital marketing as an industry, is that everybody's really, really cool for the most part. You know, every now and then you got some people who are kind of jerky, but everybody's super friendly for the most part, and it's really neat when you meet somebody at a conference and then it doesn't take you long and you realize that you guys connect on a different level and you're able to do things together. You know, like I started doing jujitsu about a year ago, and I've made, you know, deeper connections with other people just through jujitsu. You know, like people that I necessarily wouldn't really have anything else in common with other than digital marketing.
Yeah.
And now, you know, we like message all the time. Like I saw them do a tournament or they got a new belt or whatever, you know, I'm like, that's awesome. Congratulations.
And and exercise makes you happier.
Absolutely.
It's good to just get out there. I used to run a lot.
Mhm.
I still do love to run, but the bike is just right now that's my favorite thing. So yeah, it is. And it's one of those activities that you don't need a bunch of equipment for. Okay, you
Right.
can get a bit silly, right, with bikes, but you don't have to like go out, suit up, get this thing on, get 11 people together, and you can just jump on and go.
Totally.
I've got two little kids. They love riding now, so I'm sort of starting to take them into the forest as well, and like onto the little pump tracks. And my littlest girl just absolutely loves just riding around on dirt and falling off and getting muddy and jumping back on. So it's
That's great.
the
So
joy.
now you're able to connect with people in a different way. This is
Yeah.
why I love just like anything, you know, athletic or outdoorsy, you know, anything that's where you're moving your body. There's all these other like ancillary benefits that you get from
Yep.
it.
Totally.
So when you're out here in TNC, do you know where you're going to go? Like, are you going to go to Julian or like
I
Mount Laguna?
I haven't scoped it out yet.
Okay,
I don't.
you have to hit me up because I'm gonna tell you where to go. I don't mountain bike,
Right.
but you know, we always walk on the trails. So there's two mountain ranges just east of San Diego, and most people have no idea. So one of them is Mount Laguna, and that's the
Mhm.
further one. And then the closer one is Cuyamaca Rancho, and both of those
Gotcha.
have trails. So you're always like you're
Right.
always walking into people who are mountain biking,
Right.
and it is absolutely beautiful. Like one of my favorites is Mount Laguna. So they have this thing called the Pacific Crest Trail. If you've ever heard of that,
Yeah, I've heard
it's
of it.
there was the movie with Reese Witherspoon. I think it was called like Wild, and she like takes this trek. It was like an Academy Award winning movie, and she basically starts at the border of Mexico and the United States down in California, and then walks all the way up to Canada. It's about 3,300
Wow.
miles or something. It takes like 6 months to do it. Well, that trail goes straight through Mount Laguna. And so, you know, you can basically go on that trail and you can turn around whenever you want. But it's beautiful because that part, there's two separate ecosystems that you can experience in one trail. So on one side, you have the mountains, you have the forest. And then if you look down east, you have the desert. And it's just so freaking beautiful. So I highly recommend that you head up there.
All right.
I'll tell you where to go.
Sounds good. All right.
So anyways, let's get on to the whole reason why we're here. Of course, we want to learn more about Web Savvy and all the amazing things that you've done to help build an award-winning digital marketing agency. And you've spoken all over the place. Like you said, you're coming to TNC again. You know, so where did it all get started?
I'll give you a very short version of that story, but it basically started when I always knew I was going to have my own business, but as I was starting my first business, which is 20 plus years ago now, a mate handed me two books, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Love that book.
And The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki.
I like that one as well.
And that one in particular was the thing that made me go, oh, right. I get it. ESBI, if you remember, employee, self-employed, business owner, investor. I could see the journey. It made so much more sense. That was the why you would want to own your own business. And then eMyth really, really helped on the how, so much so that I was able to systemize that first business. I built it up in a year and a half. We actually got flooded on day 3. Thought I had insurance, didn't have insurance. That was a bit of a setback for a while. Literally like 2 feet of water.
Wow. Is this in England or is this back?
No, this was in Queenstown in New Zealand.
Okay.
Yeah,
Queenstown.
So on the way here. But I literally worked, I think, a dozen shifts in there in a year and a half because of this book, The E-Myth, and then sold it and moved to Australia in 2001.
Wow. So what was that business that got flooded?
That was an internet cafe. This is back in 1999.
Okay.
And I sold it in 2001 because I thought everybody would be emailing on their phones. I thought all the hotels and hostels would give away internet access for free. I guess I was right, but I was way early. I went back actually 10 years later. The guy I sold it to was still running it profitably 10 years on. So I was maybe a little ahead of the curve there, but it was the right time for me to get out and swap cash flow for equity and move to Sydney.
And then the next thing was Web Savvy?
No, there was another business in between. I ran someone else's business for a little bit just because it gave me the opportunity to get on stage and practice public speaking, which Kiyosaki had told me a couple of years earlier was something that I needed to do. He said, 1-to-1 is too slow. You need to learn to teach one-to-many and sell one-to-many as well. So I did that for a little bit, and that was incredible. That's how I met my wife. That was what got me traveling all over the world. 3 weeks into that job, I was in Borneo and climbing up Mount Kinabalu and running an event in Kota Kinabalu. That was fun. And then along the way, I met all of these business owners. I'd been consulting to small businesses. I became an eMyth coach when I got to Australia.
Okay.
And the thing they all said was, mate, I just need more clients. I just need a few more covers in the restaurant. I just need a few more patients. If I had a few more clients, everything would be okay. You know, the wife wouldn't have left me. The dog wouldn't have died. The car wouldn't have been repossessed. Like everything would be fine if I just had a few more clients.
Yes.
Then I saw Perry Marshall present at this incredible, now notorious event here in Australia, actually in 2004. And he talked about Google Ads. It was the first time I'd heard about it. And I went, oh my God, this is what they want and need. You know, you only show ads to people that are searching for what you've got. You only pay if they click. And back then everything was 5 cents a click.
This is like 2000 or like mid 2000s, like 2005, 2006-ish?
Yeah, 2004. Yeah,
Wow.
End of 2004. So I think, one of the first 100 people in Australia to use Google Ads or something silly. But certainly, I think the first business to get certified as a Google Ads professional, because I started the agency very soon after that, because I kept bumping into people and trying to explain this cool thing. And they were like, mate, I don't care how it works. Just do it for me, would you?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay then. Because I've discovered, I probably didn't know as much then, but I've discovered that I'm a teacher at heart. I love helping other people. I love teaching, but 9 out of 10 will just say, just do it for me. I'm too busy. I'm wearing a dozen hats. I'm a small business owner, right? I've got a little bit on. I've got some stuff to do, but it sounds good. Can you just do it for me? And so that's how the agency was born.
Now, is the agency today similar to what it looked like back then?
God, no.
That was kind of like a layup question. So what has changed? Like, what are some of the things that what are some of the pivot points that you've experienced since, way back then? I mean, it's over like 15 years now.
Yeah.
What are some of the big ones?
Team would be the biggest thing. I think for me, it's been a constant evolution of my mindset, and maybe I'm a bit slow and a bit stupid, but as my mindset has grown, and then team. So if you'd asked me 5 years ago, I would have said 99% of this game of being in business by yourself is mindset. Everything's mindset. And then if you'd asked me 3 years ago, I would have said everything's team. Like mindset, there's a bit team. And it's this constant balance, because you grow and you reach a new sort of level of understanding of business, I think. And then you get to a point you understand leverage a bit better, you understand delegation, you hire more, you surround yourself with really smart people if you're lucky, which I'm feeling incredibly lucky with the people that I've hired. And then they do amazing stuff. And then you sort of bump into this ceiling of complexity and you stumble around it there a bit. And then that's the piece we need to solve. And you grow a bit more and you solve that piece and you grow to the next level. And then you smash into that ceiling again and bumble around there for a little bit. Hopefully you don't go backwards each time, but that happens too. And so each time it's this sort of, I guess, yin and yang a little bit, but they're growing, you're growing, business is evolving. When I started, and I still know absolutely bugger all about Facebook, frankly, but Trevor here has created the entire Facebook department, which has grown from nothing to being, world class, a big part of the agency. Now it's maybe still, I don't know, 20, 25% of sort of overall rev, but I think there's a lot of clients that we would have lost along the way if we hadn't started offering that 4 years ago, whatever it was. And we've dipped our toe into CRO and email and automation, but we've, for the most part, stuck to our knitting. What we do is paid ads. That's what we know inside and out, and what we're world class at.
Now, let's go back to when you had the internet cafe, which sounds like it was like, one of your first businesses. What was your attitude towards hiring way back then? Did you, because I'm going to tell you my personal experience is like, we've got over 40 people here. But even 3-4 years ago, I was like, oh man, it was like, I approached hiring as like a necessary evil.
Okay. I can see how sometimes it is that. How did I approach it? I was lucky, right? I read the E-Myth before I hired my first person. I've worked in a few different places. I've done some shitty jobs. I've done some amazing stuff. I worked for the most prestigious helicopter company in Europe, and I've been a dish pig and shoveled snow. Like I've covered a range.
Yeah.
When I read the E-Myth, I kind of went, oh, bang, right. Okay. So I worked in the internet cafe for 2 days. I wrote the staff manual. I hired a couple of people, sort of elevated me, I guess, if you like, to manager. Mm-hmm. Spent the next week writing the manager's manual, promoted one of the guys to manager, Richard. G'day, how are you? And then went, right, I'm the owner. You're the manager. Here's the manager's manual. I'm off. And spent the next basically year writing the owner's manual, so that when I sold, I actually sold the whole thing. I wasn't planning on selling. I'll keep that story to a minimum, but I basically met this guy through a series of events, thinking I was meeting him for a coffee. I literally thought I was actually just meeting for a coffee. Half an hour later, we're shaking hands on a price. And I've given him a tiny discount because he said, look, if we can get this whole thing done before you go to Sydney in 6 days, would you accept this price? I went, best poker face of my life. Inside, I'm going, yo, beauty. Yeah. And I'm, yeah, okay, I think we can make that work. And my accountant said to me, you will never, ever have an exit like this ever again. Like, that was the easiest. But it was because it was so systemized, because I was able to say, here's the staff manual, here's the manager's manual, here's the owner's manual. Yeah. And so that affected how I hired. I was very clear about the role that I needed to fill. And that's probably the bit I've learned the most. Audition, don't interview.
Yep.
Don't believe what's on the CV. If possible, have someone come in for an extended audition, like if they can. And maybe they can't because they can't quit the existing job or something. But if they can come in for a week or two and sit with you and your team and be part of the team for a few days, nobody can fake it that long.
Yeah, totally.
And test tasks. We're big on test tasks. Even if someone says, look, I don't need to do that. I know this thing inside out. I'm a Facebook genius. Well, okay, here's this thing. We'll pay you for the test task, but prove it.
Yeah. No, I love that. So I actually heard Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't love everything that Gary V says. I'm not like, one of his disciples who think that everything that he says is like, the greatest thing since sliced bread. But Gary did say something a couple of years ago that really, really changed me. And it was basically, like, if you feel like your staff are here to serve you, you're never going to build a good company culture. It's all about creating ways that you can serve them. And that was like the mind shift that I needed. And I went from hating hiring to I love it. It's one of my favorite things that we do. And we've developed processes to, hire amazing people. And so we have, designers and developers are the main people that we staff here. Right. And a lot of people would probably say that developers and designers can be somewhat difficult to work with. And sometimes everybody's
can be a bit precious.
Yeah. And everybody's had an experience where, they worked with some developer or designer and there's kind of like a prima donna, kind of like, you need me more than I need you kind of atmosphere or relationship. And so what we've done is we've created a really, really unique process so that we're hiring amazing people first who have the technical skills second. And
Totally. Hire for attitude, teach everything else.
100%. And so
Can't
like
teach enthusiasm.
what's cool for me is that, just because of the relationships that I've developed in the agency world, and, we bring on new clients. And so I feel like I'm creating new opportunities that a lot of our staff here in Mexico would never have. So it's fulfilling for me on multiple levels now to,
Nice.
I love hiring. I love being around our staff. I love seeing them create things that I would never be able to do myself.
I tell you what I love. I love walking in and overhearing a conversation about this hard problem that's being solved. And occasionally it's for a client I didn't even know we had. And it's just like these amazing minds are coming together, boom, 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 the energy. And it's just like, and that's just happening.
Totally.
I had about 9 weeks off in a row last year. Some of that was planned. Some of that was unplanned. The planned bit was 5 weeks off with the family, no laptop. I basically started by saying, I'm not going to log in. But then I realized, well, if I'm not going to log in, every time I get on a plane, it's going to be a pain in the ass because I'm just not going to take my laptop. Why not? And I'm going to be present and be with my girls. And I did. And it was fabulous. And I think they liked it more, frankly, because I wasn't. But I came back, and that was Kiyosaki's thing in the cash flow quadrant, right? Could you go away for a year and a day, come back, and the business is better than when you left?
Exactly.
Well, it was better than when I left. It was only 5 weeks, wasn't a year and a day. This time, maybe there's another time going to be sometime in the future, but it was better than when I left. They're just amazing. But yeah, that idea of, I agree, servant leadership, like you draw the org chart with you at the bottom, supporting them. That's pretty key, I think. That attitude of who's there. And I think my head of ops is there to protect them from me more than protecting me from the team. Like it's protecting them from the entrepreneur's brain of, just went to a conference.
We got to do this.
Another idea.
Yeah. Stop everything. Do this one little thing that I just learned about.
Entrepreneurial whiplash. It's like, boom, over here. No.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they all go, okay, we're going this way now. And boom, over there. Wait. Okay, now we're going, no, over here. Yeah, I think we can be a bit crazy as entrepreneurs.
I think that everybody who's listening to this podcast can relate to that. Even if you're, an employee working for an agency owner, everybody knows that feeling when the CEO walks over and that's the employee's like, oh shit, what's he going to make me do now?
And drive-by delegation is part of that. It's just like you walk past someone's desk and just like, by the way, could you do see ya.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that myself.
Yeah, I try not to do that as much now.
Okay, so let's. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk more about your agency. Because coincidentally, I used to work for Reach Local. That was like my first job in internet marketing, my first W-2 job in internet marketing, way before I started my agency. And my manager at the time was one of the ones who opened the first Reach Local office in Australia. So she lived in Melbourne and I think also Sydney for a little while. So that space, paid traffic, from an outsider's point of view, or even an insider's point of view, it's become somewhat commoditized and very, very impacted. So how have you guys managed to kind of like survive all this clutter in the space?
That's a great question. I don't look at competitors that much, honestly. I mean, I didn't come from the ad agency world. I'm not privy to sort of like what goes on at that sort of holding agency level. It's just not a game we try and compete in. We just love helping clients grow. So we get clients through, speaking mainly, word of mouth, referrals. We've got some amazing referral partners. We've got agencies that we work with that maybe are CRO or SEO agencies or web design agencies. And you look after people, right? I mean, you play the long game, I guess, is the default mindset. You're here to be generous and to help people out and not look for the angle and look for the hustle and like try and work out. So if I do this, what do I get? Like, no, just if someone needs help, you help them out, right? Yeah. And I think that just pays off. And we do, the team do incredible work that helps. But it's results in relationships. As you look after people, they look after you.
What's funny is that I've interviewed probably, 60 people. I've never heard anybody say that. And it's
Really?
so simple and basic, and it's something that we all forget. And so I hope that if you're listening to this, you're writing that down. It just become, just help people, right? And I think a lot of the times, because we're so focused on the result, the end result, we skip over those basics of just serving your clients. They need something to help them out.
It can go to extremes both ways. One thing that I'm having to do now as CEO, as the business grows, is work out what we say no to. Or, when you're starting out, you say yes to everything.
Yep.
And you hustle like crazy. You sometimes say yes to stuff that you can't actually do yet. But this was a Kiyosaki thing as well. But your integrity is you say yes to it, knowing that you will figure it out, and you'll do whatever it needs to figure that out. So you can say, yes, we can do that, even though you've never done it before, as long as you deliver. But you get to a point where, it's more powerful to start saying no and to focus on your knitting and do what you are bloody good at and meant to do, and not try and spread yourself too thin. That's why we're not planning ever to become a full service agency and start offering billboard sales and TV media buying and web design, and we build apps as well, and we do SEO on the side. And I don't think you can be truly great if you do everything, unless maybe you're a team of 200-300 people, in which case you can have stacks of specialists. But that's not what we want to be.
Well, let me ask you this question. It's a somewhat unrealistic question, but I'm curious to see how you're going to answer it. So let's say tomorrow North Korea sends nuclear bombs over to Facebook and Google, and they completely wipe out those two organizations. They no longer exist on the planet. What's your next step?
We keep helping businesses grow, like small businesses in particular. So small to medium business, I don't like playing at the corporate level. I don't want to have 15 meetings to get someone to say yes.
Right? And a board or like people to run stuff through.
15 meetings to get the meeting. They are... Those business owners and the marketing managers that work within those businesses are constantly overwhelmed. So if we just take the marketing piece, never mind all of the other opportunity in business. I was chatting to an amazing Aussie last night about, just the scope of opportunity is out there. He's actually looking to invest in places like Myanmar and Thailand and Colombia. He's thinking globally now. There is so much opportunity, but just within, if I had to stay in Melbourne, there are, 100,000 small businesses here, and they all need help. So if Google and Facebook weren't there, they still need help to grow. They still need a way to get people in the door, to service them, to look after them, to grow their business. I love growing businesses. I love growing business people, I've discovered. I used to think it was just about growing businesses, but I actually get a kick out of seeing people grow. And maybe, again, that's because I'm slow and in need of continual mindset improvement. So I'm projecting through that lens. But my growth, I sort of see the potential for more growth, and then, okay, let's all grow. And then you see more, right? It's like that, the surface area of the balloon, as it gets bigger, as you learn more, you see all this other stuff. And then you learn some of that, and then you see even more stuff. And that journey just does not end. Lifelong learning. That's one of our key values here. That's one thing that we hire for, is people that are just insatiably curious. Like, I want to know more. I want to learn. We've got a library of 1,000 books out there, which I just catalogued the other day when we moved into the new office, sat there and scanned all the barcodes. But now that's online, right? So instead of me just saying, go help yourself, because that's kind of overwhelming when you walk up to 1,000 books and go, what am I supposed to start with? When you walk into a wine store, you've got little staff picks, a few wines. So we're starting to do that. And like Mike recommends, why you should read this book. Or you want to go into AI, read these 10 books in this order.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Mike, it has been a pleasure to chat with you today. We're almost out of time. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Mate, really, just send me an email. If you want to chat, if you have a question, mike@websavvy.com.au. I don't see every email that comes in. There's a system for that. But if it needs my attention, it'll find its way to me. Or hit me up on Facebook, facebook.com/Mike Rhodes.
Awesome. Are you going to be speaking at TNC this year, 2020?
Certainly am. Yep. I'm on day 2 in the morning, I think.
What's your topic going to be about?
I'm still working on that. No. I'm talking about essentially how to, it's a roadmap to not being replaced by a robot.
And is that from like as an agency owner, or is that as an employee?
Yes, more as a practitioner of this thing that we call marketing and advertising. So less on the sort of agency track and more just, I think it applies to everybody. You can,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to make it as general as possible. So if this is your first, like you said, your first W-2 job, nobody in Australia knows what that means, but I kind of get what you mean. The first time you had a paycheck, right? And
Yeah.
you paid tax and stuff. Or if you're a business owner or anywhere in the middle, how do you think about how do you continue to be valuable in the future? How does your agency continue to be valuable? How do you help your clients continue to be valuable? How do we basically all still exist
Mm-hmm.
in 5 years' time and not be made obsolete? Because the nature of work is changing rapidly, faster than most people give it credit for.
Yep.
So how a framework for thinking about that, and then what to actually do. So not just theoretical and strategic stuff, but actual practical, useful stuff that you can go do now. And then all my examples will be on sort of Google Ads, because that's what Ryan and the team want me to talk about, is the Google side of things. But it's the frameworks are there to be general enough. The examples will be specifically to Google Ads.
Wow, that's awesome. And my final question for you is, who would be the perfect person to reach out to you today?
You're a business owner, maybe a marketing manager. Your business has got past that first level of growth. You're probably already spending a bit on paid ads, but you have this sneaking suspicion that it can work better. You might be spending 10 grand a month. You might be spending $500,000 a month, but you just know that it can work harder. And to start with, you just love a second pair of eyes over your account, Google or Facebook or both, or YouTube or Gmail or whatever you're doing. And you just want some help. You need a second pair of eyes to say, is this right? Is this agency doing the right thing by me? Are we doing the right thing in-house? We're a bit stuck. I think this should be working harder for me. Can you have a look for us? And we'll have a look and we'll tell you if we can help.
I love it. I love it. Well, thanks again, Mike, for being on the show. To all of our listeners, thank you guys for tuning in today, and make sure that you return next Thursday and every Thursday for the next episode of Operation Agency Freedom. Bye, guys.